Well, her letting the government once again know the displeasure of people. The people here, representing various groups and representing about 75% of the Albertans that were polled, don't want the coal mine. And we're just reinforcing that sentiment today. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I think the people have spoken and they're not listening, and I think it's important that for democracy that we let them know that we're not happy with that. We're displeased with it. This whole thing, they started it, and we hope to finish it because it's not good for Albertans. It's going to affect the agricultural sector. It's going to affect our water, plant life, wildlife. It's selenium nitrates, arsenic in the water. It's not good. We won't be able to sell the Alberta beef in New York and the avenues in New York, let me tell you, if we allow them to continue this. So I'm here for my grandkids, for the rest of my life, and for anybody else for all Albertans. We need to do this. Stand up to this government.
You as well, sir.
Well, I'm getting old. I'm glad we've got younger people doing it.
You've been impressive,
Try to keep people motivated, yeah.
So yeah, here with this government town hall for Eastern Slope coal mining, I don't really get what they're doing. That's why I'm here. I want to kind of see what's going on, but it's pretty awesome to see everybody that's here that's doing a hell of a showing to fight against the ludicrous plan this government has. So it's wonderful to see everybody. It's a good time.
I'm Chelsea Petrovic, the MLA for Livingston McLeod. It's truly a pleasure to welcome you all tonight. We have a massive turnout. We have met fire code capacity, so thank you all. I want to acknowledge how fortunate we are to have leadership that's not only present, but actively engaged in hearing from the people they serve. I'm going to get through this. Minister Rebecca Schultz, the Minister of Environment and Protected Areas. Minister Brian Jean, Minister of Energy and Minerals. And Minister R.J. Sigurdsson, Minister of Agriculture and Irrigation. Each of these leaders brings a unique perspective and a deep commitment to the future of Alberta, whether it's protecting our natural landscapes, responsibly developing our energy resources, or supporting the agricultural backbone of our province. Their work touches every corner of our community. Today's format will begin with opening remarks from each of our ministers and the Premier. These remarks will help set the stage for conversations we'll be having tonight to provide insight into the priorities and initiatives currently underway. Following that, we'll move into a question and answer period. I, as your moderator, will be allowing 30 seconds per questions to ensure we can hear from as many of you as possible. I kindly ask that everyone keep their questions concise and respectful. This is a space for open dialogue, and I will be maintaining appropriate decorum throughout the event to ensure it remains constructive and inclusive for all. With that, let's begin. Please welcome me in joining our first speaker, Minister Brian Jean.
Well, folks, I'm very proud to live in Alberta, a place where my ancestors came when there was the Indigenous folks here in Treaty 8, Treaty 7, Treaty 6, and the Inuit. I live in Northern Alberta my entire life. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of great people up there in the Indigenous communities that really like what we're doing. And I appreciate them too, because we've seen a lot of development there. In fact, when I first got elected and became Minister of Energy, the Premier gave me a specific mandate. I was to improve and modernize our energy policies to ensure that Alberta remains globally competitive. Now, I'm going to spend about 12 minutes talking. If you want to listen, I can spend 12 minutes talking and telling you what I did and why I did it. I think that's important. I don't know if you guys want to hear that. You folks want to hear that? Do you care about the environment? Do you care about the environment? Yes, we do. So give me 12 minutes of my time and respect everybody else up here because we care just as much as you do. That's really respectful, thanks. But this is why in December I shared my ministry's plan for the long overdue modernization of Alberta's coal policy with the launch of the Coal Industry Modernization Initiative. We're bringing coal development in Alberta from the 19th century to the 21st century, and I heard Grassy Mountain. I didn't like what they did there either. But I wasn't in government then, but now I am, so I can do something about it. So give me the respect to let me do something about it. Now this action addresses the 2021 coal policy recommendations to build a long-term legislative and regulatory framework to guide responsible coal development across the province and make it the best in the world. Exactly what we're planning on doing. It also builds on the 1976 coal development policy that was designed to protect the foothills while encouraging responsible mineral development. Both can take place. No. Although some people may not believe it. But the more you get into it, the more you realize it's true. And although the need for an updated coal policy has been evident for at least 10 years, previous governments of all stripes, including ones you voted for, have kicked it down the road because they don't have the guts to do it or to do anything about it. This Premier has the strength and the fortitude to actually face something and deal with it because, folks, if you don't deal with it, it doesn't go away. It's still there. Those governments relied on temporary fixes, band-aid cures, and regulatory half measures as successive governments failed to modernize and deal with our coal policy and our legacy. We are not going to fail you. I'm proud to serve under a Premier that has declared the time has come to address these issues, and I hope you think we should address it too. I believe that Albertans deserve a modern policy, a first-rate, top world policy that balances strong environmental protections with responsible resource development. Now, our job will be and is to develop a policy that will attract investment and create jobs while respecting and protecting the air, land, water, and wildlife that Albertans hold dear. It can be done. We listen to 30,000 Albertans from all walks of life. You know, folks, you're being disrespectful for the people that actually want to hear it. Like, there's people here that actually care.
We all care.
Those people, I can hear them now. Why don't you just be respectful for 10 minutes? Now, we talked to 30,000 Albertans, and I read your letters. I heard your voicemails. I talked to people from Indigenous communities and Métis people, municipalities and industry. They all voiced their concerns on coal and coal policy. And I have to tell you, I think the committee did some great work. And we heard you loud and clear. We've seen your posts on social media. We've read your letters. We've listened to your voicemails. Concerns Albertans are not the only ones saying our coal rules need to be modernized. We've heard it from the coal companies too. They say that our rules need to be modernized, brought up to date, so we can protect the things that you care about, because I think you do care about protecting things. I do.
Hey, Brian.
They told us Alberta has fallen behind other jurisdictions and that we can do better. Protecting our water will be the top priority of the development of our new coal policy, because water is life. If, and this is a big if, coal mining is allowed, it will be allowed only to the highest possible standard. Alberta's new coal standards will be among the best, if not the best in the world.
You can't get selenium out.
Now, you can get selenium out, sir. You're listening to lies. BC's doing it, and folks, let's face it, they're no geniuses, but they're bringing selenium out of the Elk River, and if they can do it, we sure can too.
You're lying. You're lying.
Now, the We've asked them to conduct targeted engagement with coal industry stakeholders to start the modernization initiative. We're not done yet. We want to get it right. That's why we're listening.
Well, then leave it alone.
And these sessions allow industry to share best practices that are in use in other jurisdictions around the world and allow us to give industry a heads up on coming policy changes. We have to talk, folks. Work will be done quickly, but it will be done right, with the goal of having a new coal policy ready by the end of this year. Our work may include amendments to relevant laws, to regulations, to rules, and to directives to achieve the desired objectives, to protect water, to protect life, to protect animals, flora and fauna, and us. Amendments will be focused on royalty rates, mining standards, and mining techniques, regulatory certainty for investors, and most of all, building confidence among Albertans that our air, our land, our water, and wildlife will not be sacrificed. That's the big message. You might not want to hear it, but that's the truth. Those are the instructions I've had, and that's what we're going to deliver. Let me expand on that message just a little bit, folks. We're going to consult with industry on how things get done. But we are not consulting, listen carefully please, we're not consulting on what will and will not be allowed. We've already decided that. We are not handing over the keys for unlimited coal development anywhere in Alberta, especially not Alberta's precious natural spaces. We will not put our water at risk. Protecting our waters will be a top priority, the top priority when considering new mining projects. The eastern slopes are the headwaters for most of southern Alberta, and these waters must be and will be protected. Do you agree? Should we protect the water? Yes. I'm glad you agree with me, because I think all Albertans agree we need to do things better than's been done in the past. And that's why you distrust government. I don't blame you. The NDP did a terrible job. And in fact, they're the ones that started this problem in the first place. But, you know, I don't need to get into that. We're going to solve it with this premier, with our fortitude, and with your input, we'll get this right. Any new project in the foothills will need to prevent any additional selenium leaching into our waters, so it won't be approved. And it can be done. Both pro and anti-coal selenium experts agree that it can be done. The ones that look at the facts. The Federal Environment Department, my goodness gracious, they even think it can be done.
That's why they were
Industry knows how to do it, and Alberta's industry is the best on the planet. We will make sure that industry does what's necessary to keep the selenium out of our water, to keep it clean, because water is life. We will protect the foothills. We are not allowing mountaintop removal mining, not now, not ever.
No coal! No coal!
There will never be projects to mine out an entire mountain and cause it to no longer exist. That's not the Alberta way. It's never been done and never will be allowed to happen. And we will not allow any new open pit coal mines in the eastern slopes. No new open pit coal mines in the eastern slopes. To anyone using images of open pit mines in other countries, or listening to the liars out there, or the devastated mountains in West Virginia,
What about the liars up there?
those advertising pictures are not true. You are listening to lies. They do not happen here. They will not happen here. So, why coal? How about listen to this for a second? Why coal? I want to anticipate some questions so we answer them for you. Yes, Alberta has stopped burning coal to generate electricity. It's been great, isn't it? Because we use natural gas and it's in abundance here. But that was thermal coal. And aside from a few very specific agricultural uses for fertilizer and other great things like that, thermal coal is no longer used in Alberta. What we are talking about is mostly metallurgical coal. You know, for those belt buckles you have, for the computers you use, 30 grams of metal. Yeah, so China can make it and send it back to us. I don't think that's a great solution, but it is vital for steelmaking. Alberta has some of the best steelmaking coal in the world.
They're making it without smoking.
Thank you for that, folks. Really appreciate you being here tonight. Our steelmaking coal is needed worldwide to make steel for millions of end uses. The European Union, those folks way over east past the ocean, they've actually declared steelmaking coal a critical raw material. And you know, they're sort of facing some people in the world that aren't friendly. They think it's critical to have metallurgical coal. I do too. It's needed for the energy transition. For all countries, steel will be an essential component for infrastructure, and Alberta's metallurgical coal should be there to help with those demands, to help you with your demands and your expectations for life. Now, given the current and anticipated future global demand for coal, particularly from Asian markets like Korea and Japan and Taiwan, maintaining opportunities for responsible development of coal resources is very important to Alberta, to Canada, and to the free world. Ensuring opportunities for steel-making coal exploitation and development will boost and diversify our economy and create lots of jobs for you and your families. Now, the steel that we make, the great quality, high quality steel that we make with Alberta metallurgical coal will return to our province in the form of building materials, home appliances, cars and trucks that you drive, and farm equipment that bring our agriculture to the market. And even solar panels and wind turbines that can't be built without it. The majority of coal rights in the foothills are owned by you, by the Alberta Crown. Any new development of Crown-owned coal would generate royalty revenue for Albertans that pays for schools, highways, hospitals, all of the things that we sometimes take for granted, but we certainly need and desire. It's true. Don't you love Alberta? We can actually be free to say things. Isn't that the great thing, Alberta? Great thing about our Premier, she brings out the ability to discuss things. I think it's fantastic, folks. Democracy is not everywhere in the world, and we have it here. It's great. Now, as part of this coal modernization initiative, we will be substantially increasing coal royalties. So some folks might not find it affordable, but the truth is that Albertans are not getting enough for this resource. There are also many coal rights that are privately owned.
Chelsea, and thank you for organizing this meeting for this evening. I just want to start by saying that sometimes you get into government and you inherit problems that are many decades in the making. I can tell you that
40 years of conservatives.
I can tell you that Brian Jean didn't create the problems. I can tell you Rebecca Schultz didn't create the problems. I can tell you R.J. Sigurdsson didn't create the problems. So
44 years of conservatives did.
When we came in, we had a multitude of coal companies that had launched a $14 billion lawsuit.
Who made the backroom deal with them?
For canceling their leases. Now I know there's a lot of landowners in this room, and you know how I feel about property rights. I have been a property rights advocate since 1997, and that is why we changed our Bill of Rights to say that if anyone has their property taken from them for public use, they would get full, fair, and timely compensation. That applies just as much to surface landowners as it does to subsurface landowners. And so that's the situation we inherited. That is the problem my energy minister and my environment minister have been trying to solve. If we do nothing, then we are told we'll likely lose those cases and have to pay
Danielle.
It would be $14 billion of payments. So what we're trying to do is to try to find a common ground, a way that certain projects can go ahead with a responsible, modernized policy using best practices, and where hopefully we can settle with some of the other companies to take those rights out of use so that those lands never get developed. That's the process we're in right now. And I suspect many of those proposed mines are not going to go ahead, and that those leases will be returned to the Crown for some future government to make a decision on. But we have to go through that process. However,
No, we don't. You took us down that road.
we had, I wasn't here, guys. Like, I'm brand new. I'm just been 2.5 years in. As you recall, and again, this predated me, there was a coal policy committee that gave us 8 recommendations about how we should balance the interests of future development with the existing rights of landowners and communities. And that's not what they said. We had 30,000 people who participated in this process. And what they said was that we should modernize our coal policy, and we are. And they said that we need to have meaningful Indigenous involvement, and we do. We had to look at our Land Stewardship Act and make sure that we had policies that balance land use. We're right in the middle of the process of that. They asked us to review the tenure and royalties so that we can ensure that Albertans were getting value for the product, and the minister's right in the middle of that. They said that we needed to have a rigorous project assessment, and we are. They said that we had to deal with reclamation liability, and we are. And they also said that they wanted us to prohibit open pit mines and mountaintop removal, and we are. Those are all the policies that came from the consultation that we had with Albertans. And the last one, of course, is protecting our water resources through using the very best techniques, and that's what we're doing. So the Coal Policy Committee, as you recall, they also identified 4 advanced projects. They identified Grassy, and Tent, and Vista, and Mine 14. And Tent, as I understand it, is not going to proceed with their coal development. They're working on, well, there you are. Let's just sort of review history here. So Tent has worked with the Indigenous communities. They may use their mining operation to actually be a pumped water storage in conjunction with a renewable project. That actually is one of the values that they decided that they would prefer to do. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Vista and Mine 14, they are using underground mining techniques, and that is going to ensure that we have less surface disturbance. Grassy is going through the process now, and a couple of the things that they have identified is that initially in their proposal they were going to look at recovering all the coal. They're not now, they're looking at recovering only the most valuable. They want to do reclamation as they go, and they're going to use the most modern techniques is what they're proposing to address the issues of impact on the water. We have to allow the process to play out. I mean, we have to allow the process to play out. As I mentioned, there's a legal process playing out where we're getting sued. There is the coal committee process that is playing out, and we're implementing the policies that Albertans told us that they wanted. And 30,000 Albertans participated in that process. Guys, we've got a hard conversation to have in this country, and we're having it across this country because part of the reason why we are in the situation we are in is because we have not developed our resources and found new markets. We have become reliant on a single customer in the United States, and I can tell you, when I meet with my counterpart, the NDP leader in Manitoba, he's talking proudly about having approved the first gold mine in 15 years and the jobs that is going to create. When I talk to the NDP leader in British Columbia, they have a golden triangle where they're going to have 6 or 7 different mines that are going to develop to provide the critical minerals that are going to be needed for the future economy. when I talked to Doug Ford or Quebec Premier Francois Legault, they're all advancing projects that are going to lead to Canadian independence, and we're going to be supporting each other. So
What about when you talk to Donald Trump?
I'm telling you, my friends, there are 54 different critical minerals in Canada. We have 32 of them in our province. The issues we're dealing with are not just a matter of coal, it's a matter of lithium and graphite and cobalt and manganese and nickel and aluminum.
We're not giving up the Eastern
we
Slope
need
for
in
any of
order
that.
to build a future modern economy. And so the challenge that we have had and the challenge we have always had is how do we develop the resources with the minimal of impact on the environment and return the land to as natural condition as possible, as quickly as possible after that development is over. And there is some good examples in this province where that's been done. The Cheviot mine by Sherritt, they did exactly that. They developed the resource and then returned it to a natural condition. The Syncrude tailing pond, they developed the resource and they returned it to a bison ranch that is being run by the Fort McLeod band. These are the kinds of things that we can do in Alberta. And so I would just say that we are here to listen, and we have listened. The reason why all of these changes were made is because of the feedback that we got from Albertans over the last few years. And so we're going to make sure that we move forward with a balance. Everything is a balance. And so that is what we're going to do. We have to make sure that we protect the environment, have a minimal impact on land as we're doing the development, but also make sure that we're protecting the future economy and the property rights of those who have them. So we're happy to hear more of your feedback and see if there's anything more that we can do. And I'm looking forward to continuing to see Chelsea moderate this discussion tonight. I hope it can be a constructive one.
Well, thank you so much, Premier. I appreciate those remarks. We're going to go and we're going to open the floor to questions. I will be moderating. So I ask that you guys line up single file on the right side of the hall. I just want a reminder that we're going to be allowing 30 seconds per question to ensure we can hear from as many of you as possible. And I once again remind everyone that they keep their questions concise, respectful. In this space, we would like to have open dialogue, and I will be maintaining appropriate decorum throughout the event to ensure it remains constructive for all.
Is this on? For those of you that haven't been up to Fort McMurray in the Legion on a Saturday night, this is pretty normal. My family usually sits over there. But.
I don't know.
All right.
Is this the front
Can
line?
everyone hear me okay here?
I'm in line.
Wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to start with your first question. I'm just going to ask that you state your name to the minister you're asking the question to, and then your question. I'll hang on to this. Thank you.
Thomas Moon.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to address Premier Smith for a moment.
Okay, do you want to speak right into
All
the
right, I'd
microphone?
like to congratulate you as Premier.
There we go.
I'd like to congratulate you as Premier of Alberta. You're very... Hey, hang on a second. Hang on a second. Show some respect. Anyway, you're doing a fine job as our spokesperson, and I voted for you. The only question I seriously have is, of course, the water quality when Elkford hasn't been able, to solve the problem, and yet you provide information that new technology. So if a company spends hundreds of millions of dollars trying to solve a problem, what makes you think we're going to believe this rhetoric?
Let me answer that really quick, sir. I mean, there's no question. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, did we even know selenium was an issue? We didn't. Now we know it's an issue, and especially we know it's an issue because BC, the NDP government in BC, the NDP government in BC, did I say the NDP government in BC? They allowed 6 mines in one river valley. Now, one river valley where they turned the overburden upside down, what if you don't allow anything to run in the river? You don't have to mine at the top of a slope that feeds into a river. There's different ways to mine. There's high wall mining. There's different ways around the world right now, folks. We're not going to let people come in here, billionaires from across the world, and take a shovel and completely destroy our environment. We are not going to let that happen. That's exactly a good point, sir. Where are they going to get the water? That's their problem, sir. Let's see where they come up with it. If they can't come up with a solution, they don't get a permit.
Thank you, Minister. Just a reminder, are we allowed to ask the questions? It'd be nice to hear the response to this. So our next question here, your name, sir?
Dixon Hammond, rancher, Pitcher Creek. Premier Smith, I think it's obvious that the general population here in this room has voted for you in a rural base in southern Alberta. If I may, I'd like to speak about the white elephant in the room, that being the multi-generational ranchers and farmers that depend on clean, abundant water sources for livestock and crops, and our livelihoods. These are the people who voted for you, and it appears that you're favoring this project over livelihoods and future livelihoods. We are currently in spring drought, not a midsummer drought. Why are we talking about removing and contaminating water in a landscape that depends on the biodiversity only to affect the very population that elected you to do so overwhelmingly?
As I understand it, different mountains have different levels of selenium. Tent has a higher level of selenium, which is why we're monitoring the lake that is being fed from some of the runoff. And even there, as the minister said, with a higher level of selenium in the mountain, it's still 1.3 micrograms per liter. The safe level for drinking water for cattle and humans is 50 micrograms per liter. So even in tent, where there is a much higher selenium content, it's still well below the impact that it would have on human health and animal health. When it comes to grassy, they've got a much lower selenium level, but I think what Brian is saying is that if you don't do the disturbance, the mountaintop removal, and you don't end up with that weathering, it's the wet and then the drying and the wetting and the drying, that causes the selenium to go into the river system. If you don't do that kind of mining, you're going to be able to mitigate. But there are also ways that you can direct water runoff into a channel so that you're able to avoid it. Those are the things that we're going to expect that the company will do if they're going to get a permit approval. They also just got approval to do some core sampling to see if they can use some of the underground mining techniques. You have to be at a certain depth in order to be able to do that, but they're able to do it in a couple of the other advanced mines. And I'd like to see that process play out, because I think if they can satisfy the concerns that we're hearing, that you're hearing, and that you're saying, then I think that the regulator will take that into account. So I think that what you should take away is that the company has dramatically modified what it was initially going to do because of the feedback that they've got. And they haven't yet satisfied the regulator on all fronts, but we're prepared to allow that process to play out and see what the regulator says.
If I could just add, the study that the Premier mentioned around Crow's Nest Lake, we are being very transparent about the studies and the data that we have. Premier has that expectation that the information that we gather is online, but it's also then being used to form our policies. And so I do want people to know, and what Premier said is completely accurate, the average selenium concentration in Crow's Nest Lake was 1.6 micrograms per liter, while the Canadian drinking water standard is 50 micrograms per liter, and for irrigation it's 20 micrograms per liter. Now, the fish tissue study, we did release that. We are being transparent. This shows how seriously that we take that, and now additional work, I'm just going to say, given the low levels of selenium in the water, additional work is being done to determine and it hasn't yet been peer reviewed. We want that process to happen, and we want to understand what is happening there so that we can prevent that happening in the future. That study was funded by government. It was conducted by government researchers. It's still in the peer review process. Once we have that, we'll make sure that that data is transparently shared as well, so that there is confidence in both our monitoring and testing, but then the regulations that we have in place, and then transparency and how seriously we take that issue.
That's why you And if I can just say this, folks, just to add to that, you know, one of the things we've discovered listening to scientists and experts is that, you want to hear it or not? What we've learned is that selenium affects the reproductive rate and the reproductive ability of fish, of different species. But then our scientists went in and checked out all the species that were in the lake. And they're of all years, all years, infant. So it's not, that's why we're continuing to study, folks, because we can't see the evidence that it's causing problems with the reproduction of fish. So we need more evidence, and we're doing that. And that's what your government does, is to keep you safe. We continue to monitor, continue to listen to the experts, and continue to get evidence.
Right. Thank you guys. Sorry, your name and your question.
Hi, my name is Aurora. I'm from Pinch Creek MD, and my question is for Danielle Smith. I'm just an immigrant like any other white person here in this room. The land acknowledgement that was never spoken, I had to demand a land acknowledgement. Like, it's very simple to understand then why it's not trustworthy to talk about water quality, protecting the land, environmentalism, if we do not acknowledge the land. And the Picani elders have met at the Crow's Nest Lake for a ceremony, and they are not being invited here.
Sure, your 30 seconds is almost up, please. Thank you.
I'm done. I got my message through.
Thank you. Any comments in regards to this?
What's the premier there?
Well, folks, I have a large, I don't know if anybody's related to more Indigenous folks than me, but I'm sure there's a couple. Yeah, you can laugh all you want, folks, but my family is Indigenous up in northern Alberta. Treaty 8, 3 different reserves, and I thought I did in land acknowledgement. Now, I will tell you that I may not be the most, incredible speaker with words on land acknowledgements, but I thought I clearly indicated that I'm proud of where we're from, I'm proud of our history, I'm proud of our Indigenous First Nation and Inuit families and friends, and I'm proud of my family. I hope you're proud to be part of that family too.
Thank you so much. Your name and your question.
Government-funded study about fish tissue selenium concentration, and I just think that, I feel like we all probably know, but the study was published less than a month ago in May 2025, and they found an average of 18 micrograms of selenium concentrated in fish tissues. And I don't know if you missed this in the article, but the authors warned that any further mining developments in the region could push the crow's nest fishery beyond saving. So clearly whatever protection plan was put in place was not followed. And how are we supposed to trust a government that continuously doubles back on its word? And do you feel as though allowing a mine project to proceed sends a message to Albertans that you prioritize foreign investors over Albertans' physical and spiritual health and wellness?
And just so you know, so the 105 fish that were sampled from 3 different species, it ranged from 9 to 18 micrograms per gram. So yes, that was above the fish guidelines, and that was where health made that guidance out of precaution while that study is still being peer reviewed, and there is additional information that they are looking for to ensure that we understand what needs to be done to move forward. And I would just say, I mean, that is how much that we value transparency. We published that report. Absolutely. Still work left to do, and it still has to be peer reviewed. And so, yes, and that would be my criticism, is let's wait for the remainder of the information. It has to go through that peer reviewed process that scientific research is required to go through. But I do want to be clear. There were 5 new studies that were funded since 2021. 3 are complete and published. Another one's coming this year. 1 additional study expected to be released next year. And we've been very transparent about that. And I hope that instead of picking and choosing and cherry picking information, that we look at that information and then look at how government is using that information to drive policies both in environment and in the coal modernization initiative. We do take that data seriously, and I know Premier feels the same way that I do. When government funds studies, that information should all be public, transparent, and available to Albertans.
But as I mentioned, this body of water was impacted by Tent Mountain, and Tent Mountain is not going ahead as a coal mine. It's going ahead as a pumped water project with a with wind pumped water. So they're doing it so you should be happy that they've changed gears on that one, because that's exactly what you're asking for. It's more of a different project to go there, and that's what they're doing.
You missed my point.
Listen, folks, there are zero mines planned upstream of Crow's Nest Pass, Crow's Nest Lake. Zero. So there's nothing on the books. So Crow's Nest Lake, not an issue.
Oh, the hell it's not.
Yeah, right.
The other ones don't have any evidence of selenium like this. Like, folks, some parts of the province don't have any issue of selenium whatsoever. Some do, some don't. That's why this has to be dealt with properly. And as the minister said, we have to manage it properly, just like we have to manage the amount of selenium in water.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to kindly remind, we have about an hour left, so I appreciate those people who are keeping their questions to 30 seconds and keeping them clear and concise. Your name and your question, please.
Bob Costa. I live 17 kilometers directly downwind of Grassy Mountain. I've been in this fight for 7 years, and my issues around it are many, but I'm bringing this question back to a personal level. My wife and I have been in that location for over 40 years. We've enriched the soil constantly to grow a garden that feeds us year-round. And now, with the advent of the potential development of Grassy Mountain and all of the air dispersion caused by the dust that I don't care who it is, you're not going to control all that dust in the windiest part of North America. Do we, the common people, not measure up to the Alberta government the way foreign investors do?
That is a good question. And in my opening remarks, I know we talk a lot about water, but I did also mention that we do have air quality monitoring as well. And we do more of this in Alberta than almost any other jurisdiction. And we do, and I've seen other projects in place where we do have, I would say, well, of course, standards, but also plans put in place. And if those are being breached, I have seen projects be halted, paused, or stopped until that issue is addressed. And so, just like we do for water, we do maintain our air quality standards, we do monitor. For a number of projects, I've also seen projects come across my desk that additional air quality monitoring has been required for certain projects to go ahead. Oftentimes that's based on community or neighbor concerns. And so those are often built right into project approvals. And then of course the regulator is expected to uphold that a project is sticking to those standards. In the case that it isn't, and I mentioned that earlier as well, and I can think of this in a variety of different industries, where either a facility is shut down, a certain piece of machinery, if it's found that that is the issue, then that is either shut down or shut down until they can put technology in place to manage it. And so that is how our system works. Our regulators are expected to uphold the guidelines that we put in place, and we do monitoring for that very reason.
That's also why Albertans told us they wanted to have a ban on mountaintop removal and open pit mines, because that will then mitigate against that kind of airborne debris that you're talking about. And it's why we're encouraging companies to look at doing underground mining techniques, so that if you don't disturb the surface, then you're going to have less impact on air, on water, and on the land development. And so that's part of the reason why they were doing the core testing, is to see if they could use some of those underground mining techniques. So I'll be interested to see how that process plays out.
Monitoring is often too late.
We'll have the next person come to the front and just state your name and how are you? How are you? Good, it's good to see you. Do you mind introducing yourself to the panel?
I'm Harvey Dersh, third generation rancher west of here, and I'm really concerned with air and water quality. One question in the back of my mind: we shut down all our coal generating plants here, justifiably so. So we're not screwing up the atmosphere. Now, how ethical is it to send this coal to another country and we don't know how they're going to burn it? Thank you.
Thanks, Harvey.
I would say, just so you know, I believe we have been developing coal in this province for, I think, longer than we've been a province, 150 years. We are in fact the second largest coal producer in the country, behind British Columbia. And we are generating, I think, $200 million a year in provincial royalties now. Actually, that's only on one project. Oh, wait a minute, that was a coal project that was approved under the NDP. Is now paying $200 million in provincial royalties. The coal, I would hope, would go to Ontario, because I'm signing an MOU with Doug Ford to try to buy more steel from Ontario rather than buying more steel from the United States. That's one of the things that we're trying to do as a country. And we're trying to support each other. So he's coming out here to sign an MOU during Calgary Stampede. And I would hope that when we get approval to build more pipelines, north, south, east, and west, that require 42-inch pipe that are made of steel, that will be steel pipe that is made in a good Canadian steel works, either here or in Saskatchewan or in Ontario and Quebec, rather than importing it from a hostile regime like China, and rather than importing it from a country that we're in the middle of a trade war with. Guys, we have to remember that we are no longer developing coal for burning. We made the decision as a province to phase that out. We turned the lights off on the last one in the end of 2024. But coal for metallurgical coal for steel is going to continue to be a vital product that we need for so many of the products we enjoy, whether it's appliances or cars or tractors, farm equipment, or wind turbines, or solar panels. And I think the more that we can have this industry be Canadian and support Canadian development, that's going to be good for our country.
Your name and your question, please.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to ask my question. My name is Connie. I live now near Pincher Creek, outside the Castle Parks. I'm actually representing a separate sector that we haven't actually touched on today. I've heard from the agricultural sector and they have valid concerns that I still don't think you're actually listening to. Secondly, the sector I'm looking at is the outdoor recreation sector, which is a cornerstone of tourism development in Alberta. And this government has actually asked for $25 billion in investment return from tourism by 2035. We have right now $2.8 billion of Alberta's GDP from Tourism Industry Association data, $551 million in tax revenues, 336,000 full-time jobs, 76% of Albertans engage in outdoor recreation, 87% want wilderness protected from development and degradation, 98% choose protection of water over industrial development. I have here, I am going to ask my question. I'm with the Outdoor Recreation Coalition of Alberta, who has got 10 major outdoor recreation organizations that have signed on to this letter asking for you to not proceed with coal on the eastern slopes.
question. I have to tell you, as a registered trapper from Northern Alberta, I have a couple of snowmobiles. You guys have snowmobiles down here? Yeah. I also have a couple of jumbos because I love fishing. So a canoe and stuff, if you want to come out fishing, just outside the oil sands is a great opportunity to do that. I agree with the lady. Do you want to hear what we have to say or not? Because I agree with her. I think outdoor recreation is a very big part of our future, and I think we've got a great opportunity to do that. In fact, I'm talking to a coal mine that's finished, that's being reclaimed up just outside of Edmonton. And those folks want to donate it to the people of Edmonton so they can use it for a recreational area, so they can use the tailings pond that's been cleaned up for fishing and for swimming because the community wants to use it. And I think from that particular mine that was mined for about 60 years, it's now closed, we can have some really good facilities to help people with recreation. Because I agree with the young lady that spoke. In Northern Alberta especially, and Southern Alberta, we have some of the most incredible, beautiful places in the planet. We need to protect them. We need to make sure that people have the opportunity to use them and enjoy them, and I agree with her.
My name is Bonnie Kaslarine, and my credentials are I'm a daughter, granddaughter, and great-granddaughter of coal miners from the Crow's Nest Pass. I would like to thank the panel for having the courage to deal with the crowd. And I have the floor. And I feel that you are owed an apology for the abhorrent behavior of some of the people in the audience. Okay. Here's my question. This is a question for you all to ponder. Why did the citizens of the Crow's Nest Pass vote 72% in favor of Grassy Mountain? No, they don't.
Excuse me, we have a lot of questions from both sides. We're going to allow this lady to finish her question. Thank you.
It's not even 1% of the province. Come on.
Okay, excuse me. The minority here has the floor. We have listened. We feel that this project, which is a category 4, by the way, not category 2 or 3, that this project is going to be done in a responsible manner. I, for one, would not be standing here in support, nor would the other members that I'm involved with, if we thought that our community was going to be jeopardized. It's going to have a domino effect for everybody. And I don't mean the water, I mean the economic and everything else. Pincher, the Crow's...
Sorry, ma'am, your question, dear. Yeah.
Okay, my question again. Why do you think 72% of the citizens of the Crow's Nest Pass voted yes for coal? Thank you.
Because maybe they don't want to go to BC to find a job?
Ma'am, your name and your question, please.
Renee Ashton. I'm from the PN Nation, and I'm a proud Blackfoot woman. I have some friends here too. And I don't remember leadership voting yes for you guys to do this. I don't understand why you are doing this. We have children, future children in our world here that are suffering. And now they're going to suffer more because of this mine that's going through. You don't understand. That settlement is going all the way from that mountain, all the way down to Saskatchewan. That is poison. We're poisoning our children.
Do you have a question now?
That's my question.
Oh, no.
You know, I appreciate you coming forward. I think one thing that there is an opportunity here, first of all, to have Indigenous participation in coal mines, in oil and gas mines, in industry, so we get it right, because they're right, we need to do it right, and we're going to do it right. We're going to protect the water. We're going to make sure we do that, and we have full consultation with the Indigenous folks. The mine has done that, as they are doing it right across the province, or they don't have the ability to go forward.
you. Your name and your question, ma'am.
It's Leslie Scrimshaw, and my question is for the Minister of Agriculture. I'm concerned because I don't think there's enough water in our area to support another thirsty industry. Last year, basically the river ran dry. So, I mean, we were getting our water trucked in. So I'm concerned about how do you maintain a water supply for those 56,000 people who rely in southern Alberta who work in agriculture. You know, we want to protect those jobs too.
Thank you for your question.
And definitely we do. And our irrigation districts that stepped up and went into water sharing agreements to make sure that we shared the water across was extremely important. And a huge thanks out to those farmers and ranchers that really stepped up in those negotiations at the front end of it. This is why we're investing so much in irrigation and water storage. There, for a long time, we've gotten away from looking at the larger projects that we know are necessary to support the growth in this province, both in agriculture, but as well as industry and our municipalities. That's why in our last budget, we are moving forward with feasibility studies on Hartley and Armor, and we need to look at every possibility to continue to expand storage within the province of Alberta so that we can continue to grow with industry and with population growth. And that's why we're putting so many hundreds of millions of dollars towards these types of investments that are going to be crucial to provide the stability that we know is necessary to make sure the water is there for our farmers and ranchers, but as well our municipalities.
Yeah, and to echo what RJ just said, we work really closely with Ag and Irrigation on the work that we're doing to manage water availability. And as I said earlier today, I know availability and quality are two different things, but they are linked, because when we look at availability of water, agriculture, and human health and safety, growing municipalities, and supporting human population and communities, that's our top priority when it comes to water use, especially in the Oldman, which is a closed basin. But we are also looking at ways to, as RJ said, increase our storage capacity and be better able to manage the water we have, but also to use less fresh water where we can, and encourage recycling practices in all of our major industries. So this is very much a top of mind issue for us, and we've been engaging on it, so much so that we split the engagement because I didn't want to go out with any preconceived notions from a department. We went out to ask Albertans what matters most, and then we did a second round engagements to fine-tune any legislative or regulatory or policy changes that we're going to be making.
You better come back.
And the minister, when we did get water restrictions, she brought to cabinet a change of policy for prioritization to put people first and animals first. The work that she's doing now is for us to find a way to take used water for industrial use so that we're not drawing fresh water out, and so she's going to be doing a lot of work on that. We're also trying to create new water rights by being able to have more reservoirs so we can hold more water. We're actually, even in drought, we're allowing more water to flow through than we need to by law, and so if we can find better ways to manage that, that'll also protect the food producers. And I would just say, we know agriculture has been under attack by those who want to ban fertilizers, those who want to build solar and wind places where it's high use agriculture land, and we want to, whether it's net zero power regs, net zero vehicle regs, we know that the industry is under threat, and I've asked R.J. Sigurdson, as our agriculture minister, to break through a right to farm bill, either in the fall or in the spring, and I'd love for all of you to give him feedback about what you'd like to see in that, because we know that we've got to put food producers of this province first. Thanks so much for being out this evening.
All right, you guys, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's question and answer. I appreciate your attendance. We will not be taking any further questions at this time, but I will invite each of the ministers and premier to provide closing remarks if they so wish. Nope, all right. So I just want to thank Premier Smith, Minister Schultz, Minister Jean, and Minister Sigurdson for taking the time to be here for addressing the concerns raised today. At this point, our scheduled program is concluded.
Thank you again, and please travel safely.
That's why we're meeting.